before Jan, I'm going to take advantage of the captive audience to announce a few things we have coming up. Next Saturday, all day from noon to 8 p.m., free, is the Georgetown Carnival. Be sure to pick up one of these up. One of the highlights of the Georgetown Carnival are the power tool races. Here's our power tool racer this year. It's a Makita Desander, and I guess to keep it with the theme, we've called this the Fanta Menace. We won 2 years ago. Last year, not so much, but we think this is going to kick ass. So power tool races are always fun, and in addition to that, there's like 20 bands. There's stilt walkers and fire breathers and acrobats and aerialists and about 20 or 30 art shows and activities all over the neighborhood. It's all free. The beer garden, the beer is not free. But speaking of which, we have a little of samples of Manny's Pale Ale, who are one of our carnival sponsors. And our special guest that day is an appearance by none other than Joe Sacco from of Palestine fame. He'll have a new book out called Journalism, and we in Seattle will have the privilege of being able to get that book 10 days in front of its official release. A little later in the month, we are going to have a memorial exhibit by our late friend Dale Yarger, who was Sub Pop art director, Fantagraphics art director, and then the Strangers stole it from us to be their first official art director. So he sadly passed away of cancer. We're going to have a memorial exhibition on Sunday, July 1st, 4 to 8 p.m. That'll run through the 10th. On the 13th, our interns have put together a program for 826 Seattle. I don't know if you're familiar with that literacy program. Dave Eggers, I think, has been the founder and the driving force behind that. I think our friend Jeffrey did something for 826 Chicago. So we're going to have they're doing a workshop, a little exhibit of young, very emerging cartoonists. And that's on Saturday, July 13th. That will be tons of fun later on in the year. We're going to have, September 5th, Gary Panner, who's a marvelous artist, presenting Del Tokyo. We're going to have an exhibition of him. And yet later, we'll have a presentation of EC Comics and an appearance by none other than Charles Burns, and with his new book. And then in December, we'll be celebrating 30 years of Love and Rockets with Gilbert and Jaime Hernandez. So, if that's not enough, there'll be more. And I'm going to stop now. And again, welcome the incomparable Jeffrey Brown here. Janice, take it away.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Right on.
Does everyone want to move around and you can remember who you were behind me? I don't know.
This won't take long, so thanks for your
All right, well, let's start off by talking about why you're here in Seattle. Aside from Darth Vader and Son, you're here from the Seattle International Film Festival.
Yes, the Seattle International Film Festival. I had a movie that I co-wrote and then also did artwork for that played. Unfortunately, if you didn't see it, you missed it. It was yesterday and the day before. But it did just get picked up by IFC, so sometime either the end of this year or early next year. It'll be maybe in some theaters and then video on demand and streaming Netflix, I'm sure.
So if you guys missed it, you'll have another chance to see it. I got to see it on Thursday night. It's really good. I wanted to ask you about it because you co-wrote it with 2 other people. But it definitely, the storyline takes a definite Jeffrey Brown feel. What was that process like?
I had gotten an email out of the blue from Jordan Horowitz, who's a producer on the film, and he just said, I like your books, like particularly how you handle these little intimate moments. And have you ever thought about working in film? Writing something in film? I mean, yeah, had I thought of it? Yes, I thought about it, but I hadn't really, ever, yes, someday I will sit down and write a screenplay. But he emailed, and I was like, maybe I should try that. And I realized early on that the way I structure my comics is very, non-sequential. Like the narratives are very fractured, and it's not a way of structuring that translates to film. And then also, just the idea of like formatting a screenplay and instead of just, it's seemed in my head tedious compared to drawing comics. So I started working with the first co-writer, Egan Wright, who is a playwright, and we kind of worked on it together for a long time. And then Mike Mohan, the director, came on at the end and did a few drafts. And when he was working on them too, he said like he would be working on his draft and he would have my book stacked next to it. So like I think that's part of the reason why like that sensibility that I have is kind of infused and throughout it.
Totally is.
But yeah, I mean, I went into it thinking like this is a collaboration. It's maybe like totally corrupted and different from whatever vision I have for it. But everyone like brought it to the same place, and it feels like very much like what I intended.
That's great, because I was going to say, like, do you really feel like your vision was corrupted? Because I felt like...
No, I mean, I don't. Going into it, I was prepared for that, though. I was prepared that, like, there's going to be all these other people who will have their hands in it. And, I mean, there's small things that, like jokes that I wanted to put in that, didn't make the cut, or, like, things that I'm like, I don't know if we need that, but okay, but the overall effect is, like, I feel very lucky that everyone that worked on it did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your drawings are all throughout the movie, which is really cool. But originally, I read that you didn't want your drawings in the movie. Like, what's up with that?
No, I mean, I thought it would just be too much me. And so originally, Lily Carre was actually going to be doing the drawings. And it just ended up like a schedule thing. Like, so the film almost got made a couple years ago with a different director and a different cast, and then it like one of those things fell apart at the last minute. So when they got the new drafts and the new director, and like they just decided like, no, we want Jeff's drawings, and so they just kind of badgered me about it until I was like, okay.
I'm glad that worked.
Yeah.
Actually, can we take a second? Can you tell everybody who's in the cast, because it's such an awesome cast?
So it's Lizzie Kaplan, Allison Brie, Martin Starr, Mark Webber, and Jeffrey Arendt. So yeah, I mean, when the director sent me, he's like, this is the cast we're looking at, and I thought like, oh, this is like his little dream that he's having. He's like making his little wish list, and it's like, that's cute. It's like he thinks he's gonna cast all these people in this film. And then like a week later, he's like, okay, so everyone's signed on. I'm just waiting for final confirmation and Allison Brie. Like, what? Really? Okay.
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
Yeah, they're great.
So, can we do like a little like spot the Fantagraphics in the movie? Because I've noticed there's the invitation to like Sarah's art show. There's no spoilers, but is that Paul Hirschmeyer?
Oh, the invitation to our show, that's me.
It was you. Okay. Are there any others? Okay.
Yeah, like there's some of Paul's stuff isn't there.
Like in her apartment, or?
Yeah, like in her apartment I think maybe just the one apartment, and then like there's a lot of Hope Larson artwork because Mark Webber was in Scott Pilgrim, and Hope Larson is married to Brian Lee O'Malley, of course. So a lot of her art is in there, and then
That's really cool. I like how it kept a lot of like the comic book sensibilities even though it's a film.
Yeah.
So do you think, are there any other films, like do you think you'd do it again, or do you have other ideas for future films?
I do, but like after that experience, so that film was 6 years in the making, from the time that I first started writing it, and I think like doing it again, I'm comfortable with that kind of stuff. Like I don't feel the need I'm gonna take a break from online comics and write a screenplay and see if I can get like an even like bigger cast or bigger budget. Like, I mean, I think one of the reasons the film worked so well is that it was so organic and how it all came together. Like Martin Starr signed on, and then of course he was on Party Down with Lizzie Kaplan, and then Lizzie really wanted Mark Webber to be in it, and they had already been kind of thinking about Mark Webber. So it's like all these little connections kind of came together, and so I think if I do something again, I want it to feel like that. I think so. I'm in no rush to get something out.
Well, plus you're still doing comics. The latest one being Darth Vader and Son.
Yes.
How did that come to be?
So the initial idea actually came from Google. So Google, their homepage, they have the doodle, and for holidays or special days, they'll have different designs. And so Ryan Germick, who's one of the head doodlers there, he and a friend that worked with him had the idea of doing something for Father's Day, and their idea was to show Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in how awkward like everyday father-son moments would be. So like visiting at the holidays, or like just sitting down to family dinner. And my son was 4 at the time, so I thought, I'll just make Luke 4 and like have Luke put Vader through the ringer the way my son puts me through, trying to get him to bed or whatever. And so I did like a dozen sketches for them, and they presented them, and the powers that be decided they would go with a different concept for the Father's Day doodle. But at that point, I was really in love with the idea, and I really wanted to do it. And doing it for that, it would have been like an official Lucasfilm, like endorsed thing. And I was like, well, can I take this idea and do a book of it? And they're like, sure, go for it. And so Chronicle Books is the publisher. They published a couple other books of mine, but I've also done a lot of Star Wars books. And so they took it to Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm was like, yes, let's do this.
So do you know if George Lucas read it?
I'm assuming he read it. He apparently asked for more copies. So
that's a good sign.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he either read it or at least liked the cover to do that.
Nice.
I heard you did a signing at Google. Is that right? Or
Yeah, I did. Google does author talks
at
their. So they have the Mountain View campus, which is just this sprawling collection of buildings and things, and then pretty much every day they have an author come talk, and Google pays for, so they'll sell the books there, but Google pays for most of the cost. So these were $5 for the employees to pick up that day.
I heard you sold a lot of them.
So yeah, it's really awesome.
So I know are you currently, have you finished it, or is it almost finished, the book that you're working on, your next autobiographical book that you're working on?
It is finished, and so right now it's just being put together for production. So that
So
should
for
be
people
out.
who don't know his next book, would you
Yeah,
kind
so
of
it's
give
called A Matter of Life, and it's I guess it's about fatherhood and religion are the kind of main themes. My dad was a minister, and so it's stories about me growing up with him and going to church, and then it's also stories about my son and me being an atheist, and I'm really happy with it. It's full color, which is like the first full color autobiographical full book I've done, and it's a slightly different page layout, and yeah, it should be out next March.
Next March. Awesome. And then because the internet has requested this, quick cat chat. So what cats do you have currently?
I don't have any cats.
Oh no.
I'm still between cats.
That's right, because when you had your son, you kind of...
So it was a two-part. First, my wife's allergies went insane, and part of that was the cat we had was super long-haired, which also we just had this nightmare vision of like the crib being covered in hair and the baby choking. So actually that kit went back to my friend who I'd gotten him from, and and then we ended up moving to an apartment that didn't allow cats, and then we're in a place now where they would allow cats, but we don't have a good spot for a litter, so I don't know.
I think you just like disillusioned all your online fans.
I know.
No.
But if you see me walking down the street and then I see a cat and then I squat down and I'm like, "Here, kitty, here." So does that make up for it?
It does. Yeah. So if anybody in the audience has a question, just raise your hand.
What's the schedule for the new book? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, it'll be out in March
From
Top Shelf.
Oh, great. Good.
So,
And you will be able to get back here.
well, I would hope so.
Did you do the coloring in the new book?
Yeah. So the these brush pens that I'm signing with, these Faber-Castell Pitt artist pens. They're what I colored the Darth Vader and Son book with, and that's what the new book is called. So yeah, I've been using these for 5 years now, and I really like them.
So I recently read Alison Bechdel new memoir, and she kind of goes over a lot about her compulsion to write memoir and like the slight internal struggle with that. And I was just kind of curious about whether you have any mixed feelings about sharing so much of yourself in your work, and if that's like a weird experience. Because I guess I imagine like so many people who read all your work.
I think.
Know you.
I mean, yes. More now. Like when I first started, I was, like when I wrote Clumsy, I wasn't even thinking about publishing, so it was easy. And then even after I self-published, like the idea that, kind of putting, the numbers of how many people would be reading a book were so abstract, and so it didn't seem like, like many people were seeing it, and then over time, as I've done more books, and then more people respond, and then I start to realize, a lot of people know these things now, and so I'm a lot more careful about what I write, I guess, and I mean it's also easier. I feel like especially in terms of relationships, I kind of covered what I want to say about certain things in the first few books, and so those details I don't need to write about again necessarily. But yeah, I mean, and it's not necessarily a conscious decision, but the book coming out next year from Top Shelf is autobiographical, but that's I don't really have a next autobiographical book after that in mind. So not that there won't be one down the road someday, but it's just kind of where my mind is going different places, I guess.
Yeah, this is going to sound completely self-serving, but what are the chances that I can invite you over to my country to make your fans happy in the Philippines? Maybe when your next book comes out?
Yeah, I mean, well, it would depend on the cost and the time, I guess, of the two things. Yeah, I mean, right,
What's the farthest you've ever gone on that tour?
Helsinki.
Yeah.
If you got a sports organization to fund that, you could maybe get them over.
Right. Can I leave you my card maybe?
Sure. The other thing for me now is, when my wife went back to work full time, I'm kind of the stay-at-home dad, so I travel a lot less than I do, and even this trip, I came in Thursday morning and I'm flying out tomorrow morning, so it's just not a lot of extra time, and because having to accommodate babysitting and childcare, so but I also tell people, because sometimes stores will be can you come sign, and I'm well, just keep bugging me, and then it'll maybe work out at some point where my schedule will be okay, and then
Today.
There's hope.
Hey, I just wanted we could convince exciting. I know it's oppressively hot again. I want to mention that we have complimentary bottled water and samples of Manny's Pale Ale from our local brewery, Georgetown Brewing. I also wanted to suggest we're not only privileged to have Jeffrey here, but this book is really hard to get. And Father's Day is what? The 17th?
Yeah, June 17th.
So stock up and get what we get. It's good. It's not the only place on the planet I think you can buy this book anymore. Let's have a hand for Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. And we'll see you all next week too for Joe Sacco and the carnival and all this other action. So buy comic books. Thank you.